Jim Martin here with the Charleston Parks Conservancy. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Down and Dirty. Today we're going to talk about one of those subjects up in the plant world that doesn't always get the kind of respect that you think it should, and that's houseplants. Wonderful, fantastic ways of using them in our homes, and today we're going to talk about some of those and share some of my own favorite ways of growing these plants indoors. Now it's time to dish the dirt. One of those tools that you may not think has many uses in the garden. Today we're going to show you some wonderful uses, and that is the glue gun. There are literally thousands and thousands of houseplants that we could choose to use in our homes. And what I wanted to do is focus some attention on a few that I've found over the years to be totally foolproof. And for those people out there who say that they have the old black thumb, there are three different selections that I'm going to show you today that you definitely can grow without any problems. If I'm going to give you a gift of a houseplant, it's more than likely going to be a Hoya. Yes, Hoyas are one of those groups of plants that over the last few years there's many more available to choose from. Now, why the Hoya, you ask? Well, the Hoya is one of those sort of exceptional foliage plants that you can abuse and use and not have to worry that it's not going to perform. And so what are the conditions that the Hoya likes to grow well in a home? Well, they actually like shady kind of conditions. So they're perfect for office and home because of the low light conditions that we tend to find in homes. They're also good about, you can let them dry out between waterings, and they don't mind that one bit. So the Hoyas are one of those exceptional plants that grow well indoors and can basically take a little bit of abuse, which we all kind of do to our houseplants here and there, let's admit that. So which ones to choose from? Well, as you can see here, I have three selections. Notice this is a more crinkled selection with a little bit of variegation, that white variegation on the edges. Excellent for a small table. Also, it does have this ability to fall over the edges, so it's a good plant for a container that you're maybe going to hang somewhere. The selection behind it is it's a fine leaf texture Hoya, and it's all green, and is another excellent one to grow with some other shadier kind of plants if you want to do combinations. And then this third one, this is one of my favorites, and it has this really nice white variegation in it. And I've given this one to several good friends over the years, and those friends who say they have black thumbs and can't grow anything, they've been able to successfully grow this Hoya. Another group of houseplants that absolutely love a little bit of abuse here and there would be the Rapsalis, or the jungle cacti. Yes, and with the phrase jungle cacti, it brings all kinds of images, but basically what we find these plants love are they can dry out severely, as well as they like basically shady conditions. The one thing I love about the jungle cacti is that they come in many different textures. Now, it is a green plant, but as you can see here, we have three different ones to choose from, and they all have from very fine texture, with this one here looks like little bits and pieces of hair. Moving up on the scale a little bit to a medium texture, we have this Rapsalis here. And then one that's a little bit bolder texture would be this one. The Sansevierias, or commonly known as mother-in-law's tongues, are one of those houseplants that have been used throughout different generations. And there's a really good reason for that. It's because they're so tolerant of the home conditions. For example, they require shade, or do well in shade, as well as drying out between waterings. So again, they're one of those houseplants that can take a little bit of abuse and won't really care much. What I've done is, over the last few years, I've been collecting several different new types that I had not worked with, and so I wanted to show you a few of those today, and basically point out some of the textural differences and some of the height differences. And imagine combining these with other plants that either have flowers, different textures, or different heights. Here's a real short growing variety. If you notice, it's very sleek and a little bit pokey at the ends there. But as far as a low-growing houseplant, would be excellent for a tabletop, that kind of thing. And then another low-growing one, but notice the textural difference on this one with the cream-colored edges and the green inner area. Another one that doesn't grow any taller than what we have right here. And then if you're looking for some taller varieties, you can see that they also come in, there's some nice variety there. This variety right here, one of my favorites. Notice the gray striping with the green. Excellent. And then this, again, a variety with yellow edges and the green center. So if you're looking for a houseplant that can take the conditions in our homes, can dry out between waterings, and absolutely loves a shadier kind of environment, the Sansevierias or the mother-in-law's tongue is a good choice for you. If you lived in a tree house, these would be the perfect plants for you. Yes, the bromeliads. They're a group of epiphytic plants that actually grow on trees. They get their moisture and nutrients from rainwater and air and little insects that break down over time in their little cups. They actually use the tree as support so that the roots will grow onto the tree, but they don't actually, they're not a parasite to the tree. Now you might wonder why we're having this discussion about growing bromeliads in a tree in your house. What does that have to do with the house plants? Well, the bromeliads are one of my favorite group of plants to grow as house plants. And again, it's a group that has so much variety. There's thousands and thousands to choose from, and there's a good variety that we can actually get a hold of and use in our own home situation. These bromeliads are related to the Spanish moss that hangs in trees in the low country. They're a plant called tillandsia, and these are selections of different tillandsias that are available that, as you can see, don't look exactly like Spanish moss, but in many ways have a fine texture, as this one does here, just like the Spanish moss. These again grow in trees. They get most of their moisture from the rainwater or the humid conditions that we find in the tropics and what we most regularly find here in the south. Typically we grow our houseplants in a pot of soil. Next I want to show you how to go ahead and mount the bromeliads in such a way so that we can go ahead and create a hanging garden inside the house. So we're going to go ahead and start with a dried out piece of sheet moss that I had left over from a project. Excellent for how we're going to use it in just a minute. So we're going to go ahead and pull a piece of that moss, sheet moss apart and basically create a little pocket area for the roots of our bromeliad. So I'm going to take the glue gun and we're going to put a little bit of this glue down here, and you might hear the bromeliad scream, so just be careful. Alright, so we're going to let that cool off just a bit so it doesn't hurt the little bromeliad too much. And then we're going to place that right in there, little pocket, and then we're going to wrap the moss. And what we're basically doing is creating a platform that the bromeliad can continue to grow in no soil. So now I invite you to see how we combine this moss-covered bromeliad and some other materials like hardware cloth, some decorative pink beading, and some aluminum wire for a fantastic hanging garden. So did you figure out where we're going to use those bromeliads? I bet you never even imagined that they'd be hanging above head as you enjoyed your private bubble bath. So I took that hardware cloth and made a cylinder with it, spray painted it pink, and then mounted my bromeliad by taking the segment that we wrapped with the moss, taking another smaller segment, coming up through the middle, and gluing both those together again with the hot glue gun. Over time, the bromeliad will actually grow onto the wire structure so that the moss itself, as it starts to break away and fall away over time, won't really be that important to holding the bromeliad onto the structure. After mounting the bromeliads to the cylinders, I wanted to go ahead and enhance the color by adding the beads and these jewels by hot gluing them to the structure themselves. On the inside, we took some of that flat colored wire, wrapped it in spirals, and as you can see, it's coming down the cylinders on the inside with the jewel at the very base. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Martin, and I hope you've enjoyed today's Down and Dirty segment about houseplants. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to join my friends for a little